Just a heads up, I don't curse, so I'll always replace the curse word with something else. Shame on both of us. By Maya's Dancing Dragons. Read by Ella Flowerdet. Summary. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times, shame on both of us. Izuku Madara is a quirkless 15-year-old. Even UA isn't quite enough to salvage his resume, but he figures with any luck he'll get a job. And it probably won't be super weird and involve villains, because that seems like a stretch. Life has not been kind on Izuku Midoriya, not Aldera, nor the job search. His one sliver of hope has been UA's general education program, although he imagines it be a great note up until quirk status comes up and the resume goes in the trash. All the same. He's made friends through UA, of course. If he wants, someday he'll harass top 15 hero explosion murder god for money, or try to work with May. Although both of those things will probably end in more explosions than they're worth. Shuffling papers around as a secretary at a friend's agency would be nice, but first and second year agencies don't have enough money to throw him a bone. And sitting at a desk doing all the filling for cool stuff fills him with envy at the thought. So scratch all that. Izuku Midoriya needs to get paid with Town waiting 5 years. Izuku Midoriya is okay with odd jobs. Nobody will pay the quirkless baby-faced 15-year-old to stick around. Instead, he can make enough of walking dogs and feeding cats to eat katsudon with his mom instead of living off a diet over ramen cups. Always look on the bright side of life and all that. And then a miracle happens. Not a magic hair in his food. No, better. He gets a notification in one of his many open tabs. His LinkedIn tab, Miracle of Miracles, an actual job, or at least some call or interview. He rubs his eyes as they adjust to the harsh white of the new page, which reminds him that the room is dark. His brow furrows as he realizes this notification has come at midnight. Izuku Midoriya, thank you for your blah blah blah, he mumbles as he reads it. Think you'd be a great for the position. Can you meet? He freezes, staring at this letter in the dead of his room at midnight. It's entirely surreal, like he'll woke up tomorrow and the position will be gone. Who would have him work for them is beyond him. So he takes a look, which he definitely didn't do before. Daytime caretaker for special case is far too specific and weird to be taken without a grain of salt. When he sees the pay, Izuku decides it's worth the risk of being kidnapped. It's gotta be some weird quirk thing, right? He thinks, trying to glean more information from the incredibly vague notes. Like an ooze monster I'll have to clean or something. It's definitely weird, isn't it? Izuku was told to meet for this interview in a bar, which is supremely weird, But it starts to make sense. There's no paperwork or proof to post a job on most spots of the internet. So the likely case is that the special case is personally involved. His nerves settled. He lets out a breath to relax. The bar is pretty empty since it's just a weekday night, and nobody has glanced his way in a while. The bartender has his attention though. His quirk has made his body into some kind of dark mist. Although there's no shuffling or venting from under his shirt and vest, so some part of him must be tangible. His brain is already moving a mile a minute, so he starts to scribble on a bar napkin. Maybe something evaporates in contact with air? No, that would still vent. If it's an active cork, though, he'll have to have a permit to use it in here. It seems like he's keeping the mist contained, so there won't be fumes, which makes this just weird. As far as I know, kid, it's all mist. Izuku's nerves are officially unsettled as a man sits across from him, a sly smirk across his face. The smell of cigarettes is burnt into his grey scarf and purple suit, and it hits Izuku hard enough he could almost cough. "You're Izuku Midoriya, yeah?" "Yes, sir. That's me. I'm here for the, interview?" "Name's Graham. Don't call me sir. Oh, and yes, I apologize for the vague information. The employer in this case is a person of interest, and their private affairs are to remain private." The man chuckles as he speaks, but his voice has the odd tone of speaking in code. "I'd happily keep my mouth shut, Mr. Grian. It's true. For what Pei has offered, he'd keep any number of secrets." "That's good to hear. You are quirkless, is that correct?" "Ah, of course, it was too good to be true." "Yes, I am, but I promise I'll..." "There's no need to worry, Mr. Midoriya. Again, these matters are to remain private. But the employee is rather sensitive to such things." "Sensitive? To quirks, you mean?" "Yep, that's right. Your resume shows some good work ethic and meets one of the major criteria of the position." Izuku is still caught on that absolutely fascinating quirk when the bartender finishes speaking. So his reply comes a few seconds after awkward starts. "Oh, thank you, Mr. Grian. It wasn't easy to get into UA, but I'm proud to say I did, yes." The man nods slowly, and he hums in approval. "Yeah, you'll be a great fit, kid. How early can you start?" "Oh, well, the position online does say daytime, although I'm not really sure when that end up being, but my schedule's pretty much free outside of regular school hours, if that's alright." His reply gets long enough that he's talking too fast to be reasonable, and he needs a deep breath, but the man hums again. "Great. This bar isn't too far from your residence, is it?" "No, Mr. Guillen. The train only takes a few minutes." "Can you get here at 3:40 tomorrow?" It's gonna be so weird. Izuku has been given no uniform and no draft tips, but he decides to make a good first impression. The red shoes have to stay, given the condition of his pinky toe, but neat black slacks and a simple dress shirt should do well. He can't get his hair to obey, but his mom says his smile is endearing enough to make up for it. So, he stands outside the bar and takes a deep breath that turns into 3 as he finally gets himself together and decides whatever rare client this is, he can take it. The door creaks as he steps in. The bar is empty, despite its weird dive bar vibes and a very cleanly bartender. There doesn't seem to be any dedicated regulars showing up so early. It's odd, but Izuku has his game face on, so he sets those observations aside. Ah, it's good to see you here. Thank you for dressing well, although semi-casual would be quite alright. The bartender says, voice deep and intimidating. Still, his glowing eyes twinkle in a way that suggests a smile, so Izuku laughs quietly. Oh, I didn't realize you were also involved, sir. Yes, I am, the bartender replies with a chuckle. Are you ready to meet him? Izuku nods wearily. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Midoriya, the bartender says, hand stretching outward into a mass of mist, roughly in the shape and size of a door. Izuku quickly makes a mental prayer to his favorite heroes, and then he quickly takes a deep breath and steps into the ominous mist door. On the other side, in dim light, is a man in an odd-looking armchair. A number of tubes surround him, attached to various beeping and glowing machines, the majority of those tubes running back to his face and neck, which are rather deformed. Altogether, the slightly bumpy tissue making up his head is a better deal than Izuku was expecting. Still, he can read the man's slight surprise that the first reaction he has is a sigh of relief. You are the caretaker. The man says it more like a fact than a question, and Izuku nods. After a moment, he sputters. Yes, sir, that's me. I apologize. The man breathes in, loud and machine-assisted. That's quite alright, my boy. Kyung has informed you of the delicate nature of this work. Private affairs remain private, Izuku replies, finding some confidence in the phrase. Yes, exactly. My doctor has been especially busy recently, so you'll be filling in for him. Your resume did not include extensive medical knowledge, but he can be alerted if something goes wrong during your maintenance. Izuku stares at the man, most of his questions answered before he could even ask. And when would you like me working, sir? Your school day ends at 3:10. Do you participate in extracurricular activities, Mr. Midoriya? Scratch that. The bartender is fine. This guy is a Bond villain. No, sir. I can be free after school. If you need me here earlier, the man who sent me here seems to have warp quirk of some kind. The man chuckles, loud and labored, with his machines. It's good that you're observant. You may arrange with him to arrive how you see fit, as long as it's before 4 o'clock. The daily work will probably go until sundown, and see you home between 8 and 9. Is that amicable? Of course, sir. Izuku bows, then curses himself. I appreciate the hand you've offered me. After the first week, Izuku has a handle on the tangle of tubes and all their beeping machines. It's a rather complicated life support system. The man it's connected to hasn't explained it, but it mostly serves as a breathing aid. The number of tubes is in part because there's a lot of vital surveillance happening, and the other part due to the damage to his face seemingly wrapping and tightening the tissue of his throat. And it's definitely damage. Izuku decides after a week of stolen glances between machines. The mouth is intact, but the tongue and teeth are easy to generate. Meanwhile, the tissue across his face is stretched and lumpy, signs of regeneration working of itself. His throat is definitely under the same effect. Could it be his quirk or his doctor's? It happens to be a facet of mine, the man replies, voice as cool and even as ever. Bond villain, he thinks. I apologize, sir. Mumbling is a bit of a habit of mine. I'll make sure it doesn't happen again. Nonsense, my boy. The man smiles gently, taking a deep breath that heft at the machines. It's an endearing trait of a mind so cultivated. I suppose you wouldn't have learned that from a week at that school, though. No, sir. I've always been rather fascinated with quirks, is all. When I was a kid, there'd be little crayon notes next to my drawing of whatever hero. I've just always thought a lot about how they work and what limits can be pushed. Izuku can feel his face reddens, and he sheepishly runs a hand through his hair. Don't be embarrassed. It's a waste of your breath to be meek, my boy. That is something you can fix. The man's voice starts to take on an edge, labored with the machines. Most people aren't smart enough to consider their limits, to challenge them. That is a waste so often beyond fixing, I find. Thank you, sir. Can you take a deep breath? Izuku says, watching as the last of the machines gently whirls and beeps in time and is perfectly operational. It's never not perfect, but the process every time is slow and deliberate. Work that is definitely too tedious for a personal doctor. Oh, if you don't mind asking, though, Kuragiri mentions some kind of sensitivity to quirks, that is. Ah, yes. I may not have eyes, but I have a sixth sense to do things in the same way you might feel the direction and air circle of a furnace. It's not altogether too irritating, but I have no reason to do myself the displeasure of hiring a quirked individual, is all. Izuku is just happy to get a response. Oh, alright. You should be all set, sir. I will see you tomorrow, my boy. The man presses a button, and with barely a pause, Kurogiri is there. Izuku disappears through the mist, and has finally gotten over the instinct to hold his breath. He appears at the alley near the bus stop by his apartment. Izuku is having a total normal Friday lunch. He sits alone in the corner of the cafeteria. He prefers it to be just that, as bullies surround him, and he's fine being left with his thoughts. Even today. Especially today. Teleportation quirks are exceptionally rare, his mind supplies. Further still, that too would manifest as a dark mist. On the other hand, he thinks, what are the odds that the cleanly barkeep is a terrorist? It's a nice thing to tell himself, and a little internal argument that's perfect for forgetting, for this totally normal lunch. Forgetting that All Might punched a villain with more than one quirk, 3 prefectures away. Forgetting that one of the reported quirks is hyper-regeneration. That Izuku's boss has some regenerative aspect to his quirk and can sense other quirks. Nope, not for this totally normal Friday lunch. Lunch Rush's food is insanely good, although that's not too much of a surprise. Despite the damped mood after the USJ attack, the curry in front of him really can't do anything to hurt anyone's morale. In that way, it's a bit of an above-average lunch. A tray is set heavily across the table from him. The seat across from him. This is unusual, although on the days May does sit with him, instead of harassing hero students, she often sits at his side. Oi, nerd, let's talk. Totally normal Friday lunch. Can you hear me? Kachan says, sitting across from him. I said we're gonna talk. Yeah, sure, Kachan. Look, I had to go to there's this mandated therapy thing because of the whole USJ thing. I didn't really need it. I kicked butt. Despite the smirk pulling at his lips, his eyes are firmly planted in his curry. But he ended up thinking about middle school, too. And I think I should... Kachan? Really, you don't have to talk about stuff if you don't want to. Can it, nerd? I want you to know more than I hate having to actually freaking say it. Bearing that in mind, I was a douchebag. I'm gonna be less of a douchebag going forward. He looks up, as if to punctuate the shaky, stumbling apology. Izuku is stunned. Then, there's the heat and a little bit of his sting in his eyes before tears bud. Thank you, Kachan. Kachan averts his eyes and grimaces a little, but Izuku has always been a crier. Kachan reluctantly meets his eyes and acknowledges the emotion behind them in the painfully non-savvy way Kachan often does. Still, it's sincere. Izuku cries harder. Totally normal Friday lunch. Heart monitor, ventilator intake and filter, ventilator outtake, pulse OX monitor, system check. I judge by your recent quiet that you have come to some conclusions about me, have you not? This is the first time the man has spoken unprompted. Private affairs stay private, he blurts in response, more used to the road than anything. I suppose that's true, and I'd appreciate if our relationship could maintain that. but I also appreciate the levity we had. Izuku weighs this in his head. Ultimately, I don't really know anything about them. What am I going to tell the cops? That Kurogiri is a bartender? He can teleport and my address is on LinkedIn. He also waits to pay. I mean, a 1 yen coin is a gram. I don't think I could even lift what I'm making. After a pause, surrounded by the beeping and whirling machines, the man's heavy breaths, a steady reminder of his presence, Izuku decides on a compromise. If I learn something conclusive, I alert the police. Until then, there's barely a point anyway. I'm not sure levity will come easily, sir, but I'll do my best. The man chuckles softly. Perhaps some tea, then? The door at the side of the wall, my 10 o'clock. There's a kitchenette of sorts. Oh, sure. Izuku scrambles off to the door mentioned, although it's almost completely dark at the edges of the room. After a moment to fumble for the door handle, he steps into a small kitchenette. A 2-burner stove and plain brown cabinets wait, although the kettle seems so antique and beautiful, Izuku is afraid to look at it, much less use it. It's an ornate bronze thing, and even just holding its handle feels like a step too far. But the man said to make tea, so he swallows the lump in his throat and sets it on the stove. The man's teas are equally expensive. Izuku winces as he lets them steep. Eventually, Izuku and the man fall back into a sort of rhythm. Usually there's a tea, and they briefly speculate about the quirk of some hero or other. The man certainly has a voice and face that do little to help what Izuku knows this man might do. But he's nice. For at least 4 hours a day, he shows some level of weakness. The League of Villains might have made a name for themselves over the past few months, but all in all, the unnamed man in the armchair is peaceful. The one thing that's never quite settled with Izuku is the tea. 6 becomes tea time, and that means a conversation over the kind of tea Izuku would have a cup on when he graduates. Not to chat with a friend. The gesture is intimidating by the weight of the money alone. On the other hand, Izuku's compromise hasn't come into play at all. The man is peaceful and nothing else. Izuku has no idea where the rest of the league is, who is in it, or what they're doing. It's almost enough to make him regret not quitting back in April, but the money answers on its own. It sounds like dinners with Mon. She loves the place where the kitchen is visible from the seats. And whatever merch he wants. Hux and Mirko are finally getting the full lines they deserve. When the league takes a student whose name is not mentioned to the press, though it's a step too far. Izuku shows up for his paycheck and he does not speak a word, nor does he make tea. The man doesn't seem to push him on this. His face is taut, not happy, but his steady breathing is the same as that first week. The next day, Izuku is still pointedly quiet and does his work diligently. He doesn't want to be in the presence of this man, no matter how quietly or distantly involved, any longer than is necessary. As Izuku is nearly finished with his routine, though, the man sighs. "I apologize to do this, my boy. I appreciate your service and companionship." Izuku realizes, as he watches the man stand, that he has never seen him do so. His body is tall and firm, filling out his suit so that it's almost tight against his broad chest and thick arms. The tubes aren't taut, but they're certainly strained as he stands to a height above normal human limits. "I have one final request. There's a mask kept in the doctor's office. It's just in the wardrobe at the door, if you would." Izuku doesn't feel awkward at work, but there is no question of disobeying. He only hesitates a moment out of a sense of fear. The doctor's office is a place he's never been permitted to go. The door opens easily, without a lock. He hears odd shifting and tanks of running liquid, and various other noises that make him fumble in the dark for the wardrobe, skipping any light switch entirely. When he comes back, the man stands tall, above 7 feet, and his body is free of the tubes. His breathing is definitely labored, but it must be a thing he can bear for some time. Otherwise, a mobile unit as small as a mask would never work. There's a weak chuckle, labored and hissing. "Right you are, my boy." An outstretched hand with an ominous, pitch-black hole beckons the mask. Izuku hands it over and watches him affix the skull-shaped black metal to his face. The next breath is a huff through the tubes, but it comes easier. A gurgling sound gets his attention. In the edge of the dim light of the room, a mass of ooze appears. He hears coughing in the swirling black liquid before he feels a lump in his throat. "Thank you for your work, Mr. Midoriya." He hacks up black until it envelopes him. "I'm gonna die. I should have never taken this job. The signed miracle poster wasn't worth it," he thinks, doubling over as more and more liquid comes, and the jarring feeling of being somewhere else happens. Then, as suddenly as it began, he gasps clean air. He's in an alley, right near the heart of Musutafu. He takes a minute to take deep breaths of the city air, with his back against a grimy wall, and when he steps out, he sees the big screen showing a breaking news channel. Helicopter surveillance of some kind of fight in the rubble of a building. "Oi, nerd, are you gonna eat or not?" Gachan Sports track Izuku out from zoning out. "Lunch rush makes some damn good soba." Oh, yeah, sure." Gachan grumbles, untrusting, as he watches Izuku stare at his food without moving his chopsticks. The moment stretches long, and then Izuku glances up directly into Gachan's eyes. "Okay, fine. I'm a little bothered." "Took you long enough. Why?" Kachan has remained rather true to the point, despite his changes. It's odd, but Izuku appreciates it in a way. Well, do you remember that job I had? The one with the secret rich guy? May supplies, lifting her face from her bowl, still loudly slurping. Yeah, I guess. Look, it's just. You're gonna be mad. Nerd, spit it out. Kachan demands. How I feel is my own damn business. After a beat, May's eyes widen. Oh, uh, I can promise any emotional reaction to what you say. I'm not mean, though. Well, the thing is, Izuku says, wincing as he absently stares his ball. The thing is, he's kinda totally the demon of Camino Ward, and we like drank expensive tea together, and oh my god, am I like an accomplice or something? Making Bakugo Katsuki and Mei Hatsume silent is a feat of wonders. Somehow, however, Izuku Midoriya has managed a miracle. His nervous smile holds out weakly. The heck? What was I supposed to do? Izuku retaliates, tone approaching whine. I don't know, Midoriya, it kinda seems like you could have gone to the cops. Mei says, with a mouthful of noodles. And tell them what? Izuku stammers, gesturing please to both of them. The king of the underground likes Scott Tips imperial black tea? The hell? Kachan replies, rubbing his temples. The most painful thing Izuku realizes is not that he's not getting paid anymore. It's that he's in the job search again. He mindlessly clicks through jobs on every website he has, going back and refreshing the first when he gets to the end. It's not helped that he can't really turn on Hero News and do analysis to settle his brain. Every channel is plastered with All Might tributes and old fights Izuku could recount like what he had for breakfast. He's bored. So when he gets a call from a number he's never seen before, he thinks, why not? Freaking with a scammer sounds fun. If it's a robot, I'll just hang up. So he signs and presses the answer button as he raises the phone to his ear. Am I speaking with Mr. Midoriya? Yeah, who is it? Oh, kid, you want me. You don't remember? Mr. Guyan? Izuku's take on the situation changes somewhat rapidly. Am I going to be threatened? Blackmailed? Forced into another job? He doesn't have any reason to hate me specifically, but the Lord of Darkness seems like the type to hold grudges. Crap, fudge. Kid, you there? I figured you could use another job, but I got some other people I can call if need be. The man sighs, something like disappointed. No, I'm glad to take a job, really. Izuku stammers, grabbing onto the chance like a lifeline. Good, good. I prefer to discuss this kind of thing in person, but our last spot's less than available. You're pretty snuggly in Musutafu. How about the cafe on 83rd? Yeah, I can be there. When would you want to meet, Sir Mr. Grian? The man chuckles at his stumble. I usually meet people after dark, but I suppose it's just as easy. Yep, let's do 11 in 2 days, yeah? Of course. Thank you, Mr. Green. Really? Oh, don't thank me, kid. Just doing my job, that's all. The cafe is quaint and pretty old. There's a blackboard, dusty with views, with the menu scrawled across it, and most of the tables and chairs are old wobbly wood. It's just enough character to make the place feel cozy. I'm a few minutes early, so I guess I'll order something. He's about to ask for hot cocoa when the man behind the counter sputters. Oh, you're the kid, huh? You're here for the interview, right? Uh, Not for the shop, I don't think. Yeah, your guy is in the back. Come around the counter. The man leads Izuku into the back of the cafe, which suddenly reminds Izuku. The last interview was really weird too. The back of the cafe is warm and earthy, with the smell of coffee. There are paper bags all over, but without the natural light to the windows, the yellow light bulbs leave shadows in the shelves. There are two doorways and a corner before they come to a small office, and the man ushers Izuku inside. Ah, you're a little early. Kian smiles from behind the desk, spreading his arms wide. I like to see that in a client. Hey, Kihiro, get the kid you drink coffee, huh, kid? Not usually, sir, but get the kid a cappuccino, yeah? The man grumbles as he heads back down the hall, old wood creaking under his steps. Grian leans in, scooting his seat up, and talks in a half-hushed voice. Trust me, kid, this guy's got a good operation going. I'm sure you'll like it. Thank you, Mr. Grian, Izuku replies, bowing awkwardly. Oh, none of that, kid. Come on, sit. We've got a job to discuss, yeah? Izuku is, in a way, amazed by the man. His friendliness is pretty obviously performative, but he's got the kind of personality that gets a whole room to smile when he wants them to. Despite his nervousness, Izuku does sit and stare at him with probably two wide eyes expectantly. Great. I hope you don't mind that I thought of you when I heard about this one. Not at all. I guess I'm just confused. Well, what would make you think of me? I don't know if you know this, kid, but most people out there aren't all that good at keeping their mouths shut. You, on the other hand, don't talk a peep. That's an admirable quality to a lot of the people I work with, you know. Oh, I'm not sure I want to be known among that kind of person. Am I being hired for criminal stuff? Is that what Grian does? I'm not sure I want to be known for that, is all Izuku can muster, rubbing his neck awkwardly. Oh, nonsense. It's a good trait. Grian seems to notice his nervousness, though, because he continues. Look, kid, I'm never gonna hire you for anything. On God, alright? You'll find that very few people wanna see a teenager doing all that. Well, what would I be doing? My client in this case doesn't want anything too special. Same sort of thing as last time. Nothing unusual. Just a few hours a day. keeping a facility on its feet, lingerie, unloading deliveries, that kind of thing. Izuku's brow froze at that. That's weirdly normal. And why me for something like that? Grian signs at that. Well, look, kid, I think you and I both know that jobs don't come often for a kid like you. This group wanted me to find a good fit, and I'm great at that. You have the aforementioned quality of not being a tattletale, and, well, this particular group would take more kindly to a quirkless kid than most of the other options in mind. Oh, it's gonna be super weird. There can be another guy with a bunch of quirks, right? That has to be a one-time thing. I hope. Footsteps creaking on the wood outside the office stir him out of his thoughts. The man knocks on the doorway as he steps in and hands Izuku a coffee cup. Izuku notices, holding it, that his hands are shaking slightly. I'd take his word for it, the man says, running a hand through his hair. If he considers you for a job, it's a pretty good compliment. He doesn't get far without your interests in mind, anyway. Green smiles widely, turning his head forward as if to say, please. Super Weird does not begin to scratch the surface. Izuku is taught there is no uniform, but he's expected to look presentable. Clients also warned him that most places like the one he's working are cool, so he wears a light jacket over the same outfit that served at his last job. Graham provides him an address, but he was made to memorize it instead of getting a piece of paper or a text. A hassle, but he's always been good at memorization. Maybe it's like a first test, he thinks, running his shoulders. If that's it, I'll be great at impressing these people. As he approaches the neighborhood, Izuku quickly realizes that it is a nice neighborhood. The buildings are big, with varying architecture and well-kept gardens. The address he ends up at is gated, but he can see the beautiful garden with a torii archway. He sizes himself up as he approaches the gate and then presses the buzzer. Who is it? A voice calls through the buzzer. I'm Izuku Midoriya. I believe I was hired as help. Make your way in. Wait in the mudroom. There's a loud click and a light flicks green on the buzzer panel. Izuku steps through the gate as it opens, wiping the worry from his expression. This is fine. Look, it's a nice building in a nice neighborhood. Can't be that bad. The garden is quite nice too, and it's difficult to stay worried as he makes his way to the door. Inside is similar. He can see down the main hall, and there's expensive but traditional looking decorations, spaced tastefully. The whole place is just nice. A black bodysuit with a long pointed white mask steps into the hall. It's roughly 3 feet tall. God damn it. Did I jinx it, or is this my fate? Izuku hopes the thing doesn't see his face drop fully before he recovers with an awkward but gentle smile. Midoriya? The thing asks, and Izuku gives it a nod. I'm the manager of this facility. If you want to get paid and you want to keep this job, you're gonna follow my orders. Frankly, you're gonna do whatever anyone says, but my orders take priority. I can do that, sir. Most people can. They just figure they won't. You're not gonna figure anything on your own, are you, Midoriya? No, sir. I'll do what I'm asked. No more and no less. Izuku bows, deciding not to take any chances with the man on his tone. That's good. The people here deserve respect. We're doing something worth a damn. Follow me. The thing turns on its heel and leads Izuku down the hall and into a very similar one. Given the size of this place, it already feels maze-like. Now, Midoriya, our mutual friend had a lot of good to say about you, but I want to hear it out of your mouth. Oh, well, I've been told I have a strong work ethic, and last time he got me a job, I was happy to stay quiet, and I think he said something about my quirklessness being preferred. I didn't quite get an explanation for that. I hope it won't be an issue. Oh, no, of course not. Your job is busy work. It doesn't take anything all that special. My supervisor is the reason for the stipulation. In a word, he's a germaphobe. Oh, okay. So, when would you want me here? Oh, it's feasible. You're a student, so I'll say 4. You're probably gonna be hands during dinner, but after that it's up to when you finish the tasks on your list. Then just report to me and you're free. Oh, alright. Is there anything else I need to know? Midoriya, I know you're the nervous type, but really. The man turns and looks Izuku in the eye. As long as you don't piss me off, you'll be fine. In the end, the facility isn't that bad of a place to work. It's a little less pay and a little more labor than his last job, but he always knew that was spoiling him anyway. Still, it doesn't take up all of his summer days, so he has his own time before he goes to the facility. The cleaning is nice, calming task too. His tasks rarely go beyond vacuum, sweep, mop, and do the laundry. He's also helping for dinner. There's plenty of people in the facility, and it turns out all of them wear masks. And there are a handful of bird masks too. Most of the people come and go often, but dinners tend to mean 20-something people taking off their masks in the mess hall. He's not the cook, but that many people every night means Izuku doing dishes for half an hour or so. He doesn't speak with the other people around very often, but most of them treat him almost like a little brother. The gentle shoves and endearing nuggies are uncomfortable, but at the least, it's a vast sea away from the chilling severity of the people around his old job. The face masks are weird, but germaphobe is about the easiest pill Izuku could have to swallow. After the first few days, when he's used to dinner at 7 and dishwashing afterwards, the order of his tasks become optimized. The routine is nice, and it has him back home by 8:30 most nights. Sometimes, on days when there's more wager. He's mopping. He gets to wander aimlessly before the last load of laundry is done. It's nice, since the art around the place is beautiful. It's almost like a gallery, and he finds himself mumbling in an imitation of an art curator. Down the hall, a wall grinds open, revealing a hidden staircase. Izuku isn't stupid, so he quickly makes like he's busy dusting the shelves and stands off directions, pointedly looking away. He feels eyes hit the back of his head, but they pass after a moment. He lets out a breath as he turns back, staring at the plain wall and empty hallway. Super weird, Izuku thinks, folding laundry in the safety of the room nobody else ever visits. But it's probably fine. Obviously, these people have something going on, but it's not gonna kill me to not visit the secret basement. Folding face masks is weird, but he's gotten the hang of it after a while. Lost in thought, he folds the small fabrics all the same way, but one of them feels off. It's a different shape, and his eyes look down closely after his hands fumbled a second time. He's holding a shirt that is far too small for an adult. Maybe even too small for his weird puppet supervisor, and definitely too ratty. He sighs deeply and curses himself as he folds it too. It might kill me to not visit the secret basement. A week later, Izuku has reined himself in. There's nothing all that off about a quirk making someone shorter. In a facility with this many people, it's almost more likely than not. It's weird that he's never seen them, but it's just a mystery he'll live with, same as the deal with his puppet supervisor or what organization he's actually working for. In fact, Izuku doesn't really see any child-sized clothes for a week. Maybe the person was one of the members who tends to pass through and go off on their own, and they're already far from the facility. That's as possible as anything else, really. Izuku buzzes in for his 15th shift, politely greeting anyone who nods at him in the hall. The path to the laundry room is long and winding, but he gets there on autopilot. All the motions come pretty naturally. There are 2 washers and 2 dryers, all somewhat big and industrial. Usually, Izuku loads them all twice a day. Tossing the laundry in is harder when it's wet. But the typical dry stuff is nice and easy. Masks, pants, shirts, and so on until he starts to zone out. Until one of them is tacky, like someone spilled syrup on it. Red syrup. It's a ratty child's shirt. In through the nose, 2, 3, 4. Out through the mouth, 2, 3, 4. What the hell? 3 weeks later, Izuku has a very stupid plan. He's mostly recognizable by his hair and face and the jacket he often wears. So, when he would usually take the first load from the washer to the dryers in the laundry room that nobody else visits, he changes quickly. He leaves his jacket behind and puts on a black coat, a bird mask, and a hat, all of which were stolen from yesterday's laundry without much fuss. Maybe there's a delay. Maybe whoever usually wears them is out. Either way, it doesn't bother Izuku. Act like you should be here. Act confident, Izuku tells himself. If you seem confident, nobody cares. That definitely applies here, right? All these guys are pretty friendly, anyway. He walks quickly, just enough that his usual quiet footsteps are replaced with the sort of busy, sharp walk that says, "Don't talk to me." The facility tends not to have people milling about anyway, so when he gets to the hallway, he has at least a minute or two alone. He already knows the ways is the switch, so he fidgets with it a bit and click. Izuku disappears down the stairs, looking carefully through the awful mask that has at that time seeing anything, much less stars. The lights are industrial, long bars that illuminate concrete square halls. In a way, it's opposite from the upper floors. The walls are also entirely undecorated, which means the maze-ish upper floors are nothing compared to the labyrinth he's now in. But on some days, a small tray of food is taken down here. Only some days, and a smaller portion than any adult gets. Izuku grits his teeth and tries not to get too caught up in the thought. I'm here to do the job. That's it. None of the other stuff matters. It's not entirely convincing. Unfortunately, Izuku has very few clues to go off of. Most doorways jutting from the hall are even concrete where a door wouldn't even fit. It's unlikely that whoever it is just running free, though, he thinks to himself. I'm looking for a door that could lock. It probably has a slot for food, too. Izuku is stirred from his thoughts by a rumble above. It's not an earthquake, judging by the sudden and loud beginning, which suggests quirk use more than anything else. Izuku grinds his teeth more as he hears shouts and cuts his losses. Whatever is happening isn't good, and that means he has to get where he's going before the distraction ends and people start wondering where he is. Another members of the organization are running down the halls, shouting to each other as they rely and drop whatever they were doing and head back towards the entrance. Izuku is thankful for the mask and hat, which hide his features, as he runs the opposite direction, with all the air of severe importance he can muster. I guess I did get an applicable skill from the demon lord, he thinks, clumsily in the horrible mask that is damnably hard to see out of. He runs right into another man. Watch it. Wait, Nemoto? Where are you going? The man asked, holding an arm across Izuku's chest. Now or never. Boss's orders. Izuku's throat stung at the raspiness he filled it with. Let me by. Careful out there, Nemoto, the man said, running off with a nod of affirmation. Izuku let out a breath and ran deeper into the facility, but he pretty quickly saw the kind of prison door he was looking for. Perks of being a janitor, he thought, pulling out his key ring. Let's see if you're smart enough to change the locks down here. The first few keys twist uselessly. More shouting, more rumbles. Combat upstairs, not a doubt in the world. The fourth does the trick, the door gently shifting after a click. Izuku wastes no time, having it open, quickly taking in the dimly lit room, with an awful bed, and red carpet, and a tiny girl, with a horn shaking in fear in the corner of the bed. Are you alright? Izuku asks, stepping towards her. She covers, whimpering. I know I'm wearing one of these stupid masks, but it's just so I can get you out of here. Can I carry you? He steps closer, and she's clearly still scared, but weakly accepts. It's heartbreaking sight, and the girl clearly is more terrified of disobeying him than anything else. Still, he tucks her head into his shoulder and darts out of the room and back the way he came. It's a stupid plan, but the unexpected direction is definitely the sort of touch it needs. Then the walls start to change. The floor heaves like a wave pool, and the walls twist into new curves and dead ends. The rumbling above hasn't stopped though, so Izuku hides in one of the tiny nooks and pulls the stupid mask off his face. His hair is sweaty and the lenses have fogged up, and it's probably made his whole face bright red with how easily he blushes. The girl gently shakes against his shoulder, and he sets her down gently, then kneels in front of her. Hey, it's alright, I'm Izuku. What's your name? He hopes his white smile helps. Eri. Oh, that's a very nice name. Very suddenly, a blond man appears through the wall. Is that teleportation? He definitely got through the concrete, but he's not naked, so he couldn't have warped through it. As he lands, he looks around, and when he sees them, he shouts, "Get away from her!" The man's not in a mask, but Izuku doesn't let that change anything. He twists as he stands, spreading his arms as he gets between the man and Eri. No! I don't know what you're doing with her, but it's not right. What I'm doing with her, I'm going to save her from you. The anger in his voice is half gone as confusion sets in. Save her from... I'm saving her? Who are you? I'm confused. You're confused? I'm freaking confused. Who are you? The hero Emilian. You're a member of the Shie Hasake. Oh, is that what they're called? I just do laundry mostly. The wall comes down in bursts of rubble that has Lemillion diving to cover both him and Eri. A group of heroes charge through and come to a sudden stop as they see the group. Yo, you're Bakugo's friend, right? A red-haired boy calls out, approaching ahead of the other heroes. I thought you were in Janet. You're on the raid team? Izuku thinks the AMT blanket is unnecessary. Eri seems to prefer it, hiding herself between his, well, technically Nemoto's, coat and the soft material. There aren't many heroes stationed outside, although Izuku recognizes the brown-haired girl who Kachan fought in the sports festival. Mostly, Its police miling out, maintaining a perimeter and filtering criminals into cars. The ones who brought Izuku up keep an eye on him as they move towards the edge of the perimeter, talking to men dressed in uniforms that suggest a more distant leadership role. Izuku doesn't quite want to take his eyes off them, but there's a little girl attached to his leg, so he starts talking, mostly about the heroes who say them. Rocklock and Fatgum and Ryuku, who all have very cool quirks. Eri seems to like Fatgum most, so Izuku explains his quirk for a while, and Eri is finally not crying. He's in the middle of his theory about the hero's general capacity when a man in front of him clears his throat. "I'm Detective Tsukachi," the man explains, drawing a notepad and pen from his coat. "Can you tell me your name, please?" "Midoriya. Izuku Midoriya, sir." "How old are you, Midoriya?" 15, sir." "Quirk?" No." Tsukachi's brow furrows, but he jots something down before continuing. "Can you tell me what you were doing in that building, Midoriya?" Well, I was hired as a janitor basically, but after a while I noticed something weird was going on, and I went into the secret basement to find her." He gestures with his free hand towards Eri. She hides herself behind him to get away from Tsukachi's gaze. "Did you know that you were employed by a criminal organization?" "No, sir." Tsukachi's mouth hangs barely open as his brow furrows again. Well, I figured they were. I'm not sure, maybe a cult or a gang or something. They were weird, but I didn't see anything illegal, really." "Thank you, Midoriya," Tsukachi says, bowing slightly. "My quirk is called True Man. I can detect lies, but nothing you just said was verifiably false, and it's generally the same story you told before. You're free to go, although Eri will have to stay." "I'm happy to stay with her, detective. At least until Lemillion is back. It wouldn't be right to leave her without a friend." Izuku hopes that doesn't register as a lie, because it's definitely true, but he also would sooner die than leave behind a chance to talk to so many heroes and get so many autographs. There's been fighting distantly in the pit Ryuku made with a gang member who apparently grew in size, but there are shouts, even from the police up on surface level, as something clambers out of the pit, a reddish fleshy thing, screaming with a chorus of voices as one. "Where is she?" The girl gets on the other side of Izuku, covering from the thing. She clings tighter to him, and he holds her gently as she sobs into his coat. Izuku Midoriya doesn't much like being quirkless. It's not about the people who spit at his feet, or the evils that trample people like him, ranging from landlords to villains. It really all comes down to the same thing. Here he is, standing between a little girl and a villain who wants her dead or tortured or some other messed up thing, despite what he would love to do, throwing himself at the villain. wouldn't even slow him down. Within the mouth of its bird mask, the red, flashing mass moves in ridges into a upper body in a green coat. Izuku never saw the boss personally, but staring down, the giant monster answers his question more than the man introducing himself would. Why do you have my girl? Izuku's feet are planted, glaring at the villain. It slams its many arms down, wrapping the asphalt into spikes and chunks that a car couldn't hope to get through, and maybe not even a person. Touch-based quirk, likely 5-point activation, some kind of meta manipulation. But judging by how he looks now, it works on organic matter. He must be partially fused with other gang members. Wasn't he a germaphobe? That's what Puppet Superior said. Eri, I will do whatever I must to get you. Do not be such a burden that you cost these people their lives. Eri sobs into Izuku's coat, and he holds her there. This place is crawling with pros and student heroes, but the raid's gone long and rocky. There's no guarantee that they'll be able to stop a villain this strong and desperate. Izuku pushes the thought from his head. Adrenaline is tingling in his fingers. But fight and flight both seem like pretty bad options. Lemillion surges out of the ground, uppercutting the villain in a motion that carries him at least 10 meters above the villain. He hasn't nailed the body of the boss himself, though, and all it seems to do is make him stumble. Hands reaching up, they snatch at Lemillion, who is caught in the air. There is no chance he can twist away, and Izuku stares helplessly. And then Lemillion passes straight through the man's hands. He falls through the asphalt, too, gone as soon as he appeared. Then he appears again, so close that Tsukachi stumbles back. Is everyone alright? Lemillion asks. Looking around, he smiles when he sees Izuku and Eri, an infectious hero smile. Lemillion, his main body in the mouth? That's what's most vulnerable. Lemillion is surprised at first, but he nods. Right. And then he's gone again, falling into the ground. What an amazing quirk, Izuku thinks, watching Lemillion surge out of the ground at the villain. He's definitely becoming intangible, but his quirk doesn't let him exist in the same space as other stuff. Lemillion passes through one of the massive arms on his way to punch the main body across the face. Is that where he gets the speed? He must be falling far into the ground in order to emerge at that speed. Lemillion uses his momentum to knock out one of its legs, exposing the mouse body. But if he's untangible, can he see or breathe? Maybe he's still impacted by light, but not dense matter. But either way, he wouldn't see any time he's inside something. Lemillion delivers blows to the villain's face until his stupid bird mask comes off, and then a few more. The man can't even hope to touch him. Whatever this is, Lemillion is already a genius with it. The boss stops moving. Izuku watches on instant awe. Class 1A has a much nicer common room than the general education students get. Izuku tries not to take it personally. There are enough rich people and legacy families in this building that they could have easily gotten it out of their own pockets. Izuku is taking it a little personally. Apparently, Kachan's friend with the red hair invited him to celebrate the successful raid and the end of their work studies. He is a little apprehensive to meet 19 people at once, which is why he squints at their fancy couch through the windows before getting his act together and ringing the doorbell. There's a chorus of "I'll get it" and heavy footsteps and a few crashes. A girl with pink skin and a black Clara opens the door, breathing heavily. Behind her, 5 other students are in various states on the floor and equally out of breath. Izuku feels his expression twist in concern, but tries to ignore it. "I'm Izuku Midoriya," he says, more like a question. "Mido bro," shouts one of the students, lifting himself off the ground. It's the red-haired boy. "Kaminari?" he thinks. Oh no, he's Kirishima? Or was it Tetsu? No, he had great hair. Although that shade of red is clearly dyed on. Hi. I'm Kirishima. I don't know if you recognize me out of costume, but we met at the raid, I guess." He approaches the door, and Izuku bows slightly, but immediately realizes they're the same age, and it's awkward. He doesn't get a chance to reply though, because the pink girl holding the door scoffs at him. "Of course he recognizes you out of costume. Your hair is like your trademark." Her gaze snaps back to Izuku. "Come in. I think dinner's gonna be ready in like 10 minutes. Izuku steps inside, glancing around at the small crowd starting to gather, and slips his sneakers off. "So thank you for having me." The pink girl gasps dramatically as she steps past him onto the carpet. "Bakugo! You didn't tell me he's so cute!" Izuku feels heat rise to his ears, but he tries to ignore it. He can't quite hide in his jacket, but he shoves his hands in the pockets to keep himself from fidgeting. "Don't make stuff awkward, Raccoon Eyes." Kachan growls from the couch, twisting and leaning over the back of it to face her. Raccoon Eyes sticks out her tongue at him. Definitely not her name, but better than Pink Girl. Izuku decides, stepping onto the carpet behind her. Kirishima speaks up. "Hey, bro, do you want me to take your coat?" Izuku looks down at Nemoto's coat. He's still blushing, so he's stammering to even start talking. It's pretty comfy. I've basically been living with it on," he admits, rubbing the back of his neck. At that, everyone listening to him turns and takes a close look at it, and resists the urge to shuffle around under that many eyes. It's nothing special. Well, technically it is, but mostly Ellie likes it. "Yeah, you were buying it at the rate, right?" Kirishima asks innocently. Izuku winces at the freshly dug grave he now lies in. "Oi, what does he mean at the rate, nerd?" "Well, that's a funny story, actually." Kachan glares. "Okay, maybe not funny, I guess, just that I might have been working there pretty much as a janitor, and I kind of figured out something was going on, so I stole one of the people's coats and one of those stupid masks and broke into what, in hindsight, was the secret base of a criminal organization. There's a moment of silence as everyone in the common room stares. Even the clutter in the kitchen stops. The hell? Izuku is eating pretty quickly. He can feel Kachan's eyes on him, but he tries to ignore it. It's not hard, with his face over a bowl of lunch rush cooking. Oi, nerd. Me? Izuku replies, like an idiot. Yeah. You're on your third serving. Do I need to be worried? There's some genuine concern in his voice, but his face mostly reads like he's been staring in confusion for a while. I don't think so. He's right. You're eating an abnormal amount of food, Midoriya, May says. This provides energy to the hero's course, so eating this much raises some concerns. Maybe I'm just having my growth spurt? Bullcrap. I mean, your feelings are valid and stuff, but you're a horrible liar. Look, it's no big deal. Two unimpressed pairs of eyes stare silently. I'm serious this time. It's really nothing weird. Pretty much the same work as last time, and they're not even that weird. He pauses to eat another bite. It just, I don't know, they kinda have me running around a lot. I'm like messenger and errand boy. Or like they don't want a paper tail. May suggests, raising her eyebrows doubtfully. Kachan squints. Any uniform? I guess most of them wear red robes. May leans in, eyes swirling as they pinpoint on him. Any secret facility? Guys, I swear, Izuku says, raising his hands in innocence. I'm at least like 80% sure that it's fine.